Good evening and welcome to the return of the United Touring Car Championship. It's round 1 and 2 this evening, live from Circuits of America's the East Circuit. Now, if you're wondering about the East Circuit, so are we. I've not been here before. The co-commentator is with me today is Zach Sweeney. He's going to be covering all the action with me this evening. And of course, we're using iRacing, the world's premier simulator. Now, we've never been to this circuit. If you know the Circuits of Americas, it takes part around turn 11, which is potentially turn 1, and then goes 7, 8, 9, and 10. So it's from the chicane down into the tight hairpin. Then you've got a little bit of the straight, and then we instantly go left. The times we've been looking at is 50.31 is the fastest times overall. Now, after last year's champion Olivier Boltonek took the championship by as little as 2 points from Lewis Archer, and then Scott McFall was in third. The format we're going to have will be a 21-lap sprint race, and then we're going to have a 30-lap feature with a mandatory drive-through as per normal. So there has been some driver swaps as well. Lewis Archer is switching over from GTR to CUDA and is now partner of Chris Byram. Ivan Balkamp has gone from CUDA Works. He's gone down to the CUDA Evo team. Laura Ubasek has also joined CUDA AM as well. Now, there's been quite a lot of drivers joining this season, and we've got no fewer than 26 cars on track. So we are in for an absolute treat. We got new teams. Chris Radmore comes in under the P1 Racing Community banner as well. And we've got Adam Dalmont from Zeit, and Mikael Lees, who's returning, but he's now on the Excite team as well. Rob Sluto returns with the Rock Sim Racing team. So there's a lot going on. He's now paired with Danny Bleak from Rockstar Sim Racing as well. And Dan Mould comes in with Blade Designs, teamed up with Derek Crowther, also from Blade Designs as well. So there's going to be a lot going on. And obviously, guys, we're just going to mention TrackCams 22 for supplying the track cams for us this evening. Much love to them as well. You can check them out at trackcams22.com for all your camera needs for iRacing, and you can have a look back through there. But I think it's time to bring in Zach into the booth. Zach, how are you, sir?
Doing absolutely fantastic, and really looking forward to seeing the show that we've got on today.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got no fast repairs, so there's no hope of that from the drivers. We've got no incident limits either. We have gone back to the traditional BTC touring car, and just to top it all off, between the sprint race and the feature, we've got a full reverse grid for the feature as well.
Oof, that is going to be one to look forward to. And already in the practice session, you know, we start to get a feel of where people are going to rack up. Of course, a new season, fresh slate. That's, you know, the standards are wiped clean. You come into a new season completely fresh and a perfectly poised opportunity to prove yourself once again. But already our reigning champion of Olivier Boltonek is, you know, setting the standard with, you know, the fast lap time in practice so far. Of course, it's one thing to do it in practice. It's another thing to do it in qualifying, and then of course maintain that for the race. But certainly setting the standard well and making a name for themselves in the early stages. Absolutely, and he returns once again back in the Audi.
So we have got the Audi, the Hyundai, and the Honda Civic here tonight as well. So we've got a mixture of them all. We've got new teams, new drivers, same format, mind you, because the format, there was no need to change it. The format worked absolutely amazingly. Everybody was chuffed to bits with the format last season, so nothing's changed on that one. Different circuit. Zach, you know, I've not been to Coda East before. You know, me and you had a discussion off story. Neither of us actually knew which part of the Circuit of Americas they were actually using. It's not very big at all. I think we're putting it, it's about 1.5 miles, which taking it all of about 50 seconds. So it's a kind of different challenge for these drivers tonight, because obviously the track is so considerably smaller, and we do have 26 cars now on circuit.
It's going to be very busy on track. As you say, it's a big grid and a small track to accommodate them with. But, I mean, looking at the track top down, it should be interesting. These touring cars and the short and snappy format, you know, the sprint and feature race don't take too long at all, especially around a circuit like this. You've got that long stretch between what is, relative to this track, T1 and T2. T11, obviously, is T1, which is always confusing. I love Americans and how they name their corners. It's always fantastic, always a treat, and lovely to confuse yourself by. But you've got that run between what is T1 and T2, a pretty heavy braking zone for that left-hander. Then, of course, the twists and turns of turn 7, 8, and 9. Then you round off with turn 10 and that braking zone for T11. A number of different lines that you can run through there as well. So even though it's sort of an unorthodox layout, one that I certainly have never experienced both in the world of sim racing and in real life racing, you know, there's certainly a lot to, you know, a lot of promise when we come to a layout like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just going to lead to absolutely incredible racing because, like, you know, last year was just insane. The quality of racing was just incredible. The respect that these drivers gave was just absolutely amazing as well. And I think hopefully we're going to get the same thing this season, and it's going to be an absolute treat for you. Let's have a brief look at the schedule, guys, as well. So we start off with round 1 and round 2 here at the Circuit of Americas. Then on the 8th of October, we head for round 3 and 4 to Road Atlanta. Road 5 and 6 will be back in the UK for Donington Park. And then round 7 and 8 will be Brands Hatch on the 12th of November. 9 and 10, we're heading to Monza, the Grand Prix with the no chicane circuit on the 19th of November. 11th and 12th will be at the Red Bull Ring on the 3rd of December. Then we're going 13 and 14, we'll be at the Grand Prix circuit of Phillip Island on the 10th of December, sorry. And then the final season will be 15 and 16 at Oran Park on the 17th of December. Now that is a fairly busy schedule for these guys, and one that's going to take a little bit of getting used to, because I think there's going to be a few circuits in there that these guys aren't always necessarily used to.
For sure, there's a wide variety of circuits, and you know, the characteristics of each of them. You know, some slightly unorthodox ones as well, like this one to open us up for round 1. It's going to be a mammoth task for these drivers. A lot of races as well, because as many places we go to, we have 2 races at each, and that over the course of the whole season accommodates a lot of on-track action. So from a championship perspective as well, there's a lot to unfold. There's many an opportunity to get yourself into the mix. There's also plenty of opportunities for things to go drastically wrong over the course of this entire season. But the crucial thing is that the longer the season goes on, the more sort of you're allowed to have an off week, in a sense, because if it's a shorter season, each round accommodates for a higher percentage of the total points. But when you've got a longer season, you can afford to have an off race. You can afford to sort of not be at your absolute peak. And then, of course, that over the whole season keeps a lot of people still in the mix all the way through. So honestly, you know, round 1 at the moment, you have to get this season off to a good start, but also it's a long, long road ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's go into the touch on the brief points system as well. So they do get 1 point for qualifying on pole, and then we go into the sprint race where they get 18 for a victory, 16 for second, and then every 2 after that as well. So 14 for third, 13 for fourth, 12 for fifth, 11 for sixth, 10 for seventh, and then they go down the order 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way down into 16th. Now the feature is a little bit different. They get 25 points for the victory, 20 points for second, 18 for third, 16 for fourth, 14 for fifth, 12 for sixth, 10 for seven, and then down the order 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way down to 16th. So they're covered pretty much all the way down to 16th, but that does mean that we've got 10 drivers that aren't going to score any points, because obviously we've got 26 cars on track.
You got to fight for that, you know, that final points per position. Then I think 16 places scoring points is pretty generous. It's, you know, it's still a decent amount of people scoring points. It means that you can sort of have an off and still score a number of points. And of course the point system itself is quite close. There's not much separating each position, which again over the season keeps it nice and close. It means you, as soon as you have a really big off, the person who maybe does it a lot better than you will then close a bigger gap compared to the championship standing. So again, very, very interesting how the points laid out. The format as well, it's definitely short and sweet, short and snappy. You have to be on it from lap 1. You can't, it's not like an endurance race where you have sort of the first half an hour to settle into it. No, as soon as that green flag is waved, you have to be at your best. Otherwise, you are just going to be completely swallowed up.
Yeah, absolutely as well. But Mr. BF John, come on, Team Blade Designs, SRL TV. Good luck, Dan and Neil from Team Blade as well. So well done there. Thank you so much for joining us. And that's Neil Ferrier from Team Blade Liveries, Dan Mould from Blade Designs, and we've also got, oh, where are you? As he looks on his time and tell, there's one more on there. Derek Crowther from Blade Designs as well. But welcome in, guys. If you are here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bells for notifications, and give the video a big old thumbs up. Will go a long way. Currently, we've got Boltonic on pole on a 50.838. Zach, and that's kind of, well, kind of carried on from where he left off last season.
Yeah, I mean, for Boltonic, that is a really good way. And look at the gap between Carvalho and McFall. 2/100ths of a second, around a 50-second lap. You haven't got a lot of opportunity to make that time up. It's a shorter lap, which means naturally the gaps are going to be slightly closer. So Boltonic to have, well, now Scott McFall has improved and closed that gap to the margin of just less than a tenth. Every tiny smidge of time counts so much, because at Spa you've got, what is it, like 16 corners to make time up. Here you've got, you know, like 5 or 6. You haven't got that same amount of opportunity to make that time up, so any time you can gain is going to be so crucial. And yeah, expect this qualifying session to be close, and already we're seeing how close it really is, with less than a, you know, what is that, just over a tenth separating our top 3.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about some of the, you know, you're looking at the track map, it looks pretty manic at the moment. There's not a lot of room anywhere. Regarding qualifying, you want to get out and get some clean air, but how do you find clean air on a circuit where there is none? When you've got 26 cars going around a very short circuit as we have currently here today, and you can see there's people having to pull over out the way to try and let others through. You know, Neil Ferrier is doing it from Team Blade Liveries currently as well to try and let people through. There's just not a lot of room to string these laps together, is there?
A short answer to your question of how do they find clear air, the answer to that is they don't. In all honesty, they physically can't. However, they really hope that they get a nice portion of track, because you can see there's a gap between the middle of the straight and, of course, through what is T2 for the second. There's a nice little bit of ground there, but you can just see it's packs of cars, 3, 4, 5 cars deep, and that concertina effect, everyone's going to be affected by that. Yes, maybe if you can get into a couplet, fantastic. You've got a bit of slipstream. You can play with that a little bit. You can use that to your advantage. But as soon as you get bigger than that, the difference in pace can really come back to bite you in the backside. And when a qualifying session is going to be this close, you cannot be, you know, leaving any time on the table whatsoever. And in my own experience of esports racing, qualifying is so crazy, and you really do have to hope. Yes, it's about the skill of putting a lap together, but also a slight element of luck and just praying that you get some clear air on track, because that definitely in a qualifying session like this is going to be the difference between pole and, you know, second place.
Yeah, absolutely. You see the lap times that they are incredibly close at the moment. There is literally a second gap, 50.756 and then 51.75, well, 702 down to Laura Ubasek down in 15th place. So we've got a second gap between first and 15th. We've got a short track, and just to top it all off, we've got 26 cars on circuit. You know, what more can we ask for apart from epic racing? And I think we're going to get that anyway.
Yeah, no, that epic racing part is a question we're going to have unanswered until we get underway. But with how it's, you know, being set up, you know, we're being sort of teased with how close it is, how close the grid is. We certainly are looking forward to getting underway for not only 1, but 2 races of action. Of course, the full reverse grid. 26 cars get flipped on their head for race 2, don't forget. How close it is. You know, you're going to have some curveballs thrown. We've got a track that lends itself to keeping people nice and close together, with a couple of overtaken opportunities along the way also. So, honestly, this is something definitely to look forward to, as we see Scott McFall really put Boltonic on under some pressure, because a 50.71 for McFall a 50.72 for Olivier Boltonic. So McFall is giving the reigning champion a bit of a run for their money.
Yeah, he finished third in the championship last year. He was a little bit unlucky, I've got to be honest. There was a few times that, you know, it's like anything with touring cars. There were incidents and people got involved in them, and, you know, at the end of the day, it was racing at the best of times. But it was a good old season last year from Scott McFall, and I think he's going to be looking out to go out and redeem himself a lot this year. One of the things people as well is Nilton Carvalho. Now, Carvalho last season did a few races and then he missed the majority of the season because he was in Portugal. So I'm going to be really interested to see if Nilton can finish this whole season, where he's going to end up, because currently he's sitting in third on a 50.78, you know, 0.06 of a second behind Boltonic, so clearly he's got the pace, but it's going to be where the other teams can go, because the Sim District Vibe Esports guys are incredibly quick. You know, you got Scott McFall, Olivier Boltonic, Nilton Carvalho, Stuart Reynolds, Dan Carpenter. They're all flyers in these cars. You know, they all drive touring cars consistently, and you know, Scott McFall's no slouch. He's got 5.5 KI rating, mind you, and the others aren't much further behind that. I think Nilton's at the lowest on a 3.3. So there's a lot for everybody to fight for, but it's just how they're going to go about it, I think. And I think this is where this series really stands out, because there's such close racing, there's such respectful racing, and it's going to be whether or not this season, like we saw last season, Olivier Boltonic in the feature went from last to first, and he was the only man to do the whole season, the season, where in one race he finished first in the sprint, he come through the back from the feature, and he finished first again. I'm just doubtful whether or not with this amount of cars and this up the level of competition, whether or not we're going to see this year.
Let's just take a step back from a racing fan's perspective. Let's look at the gap between Scott McFall and Olivier Boltonic. The gap is, as you say, 6/1000ths of a second. Nothing. Literally nothing. To put it into perspective, it's like a blink of an eye. You think how little time that is. You take the laps of Scott McFall at the moment and Olivier Boltonic, you lay them over each other. To the naked eye, you couldn't tell a difference. That is how close this is at the moment. And that is how close it is throughout the entirety of the field. We've got a 51.50 for Boltonic, a 51.45 for Carvalho. Just look at how close it is. We've got, you know, we've got a track that you can overtake around, but you can't rely on the track. You have to do the job in qualifying as well. And when the margins are this small, you have to be head and shoulders above the rest. You have to step up and rise to the occasion. You have to put that lap in, because if you don't, the competitive nature of this series, of this grid so far, is going to mean that you're going to have such a tough time carving your way through.
Yeah, and I don't think they can afford to. Some people will sit back and go, oh, it's qualifying, you know, I'm going to sit in the back or whatever, I'm going to let them take each other. I don't think you're going to get that. And that's where, as you say, qualifying is so important. And that run down into turn one as well, that's going to be even more crazy. So I'm very excited to see how this gets underway. You know, we've got only 3 minutes remaining. I think, to be honest, if you're not already, get a drink, grab some popcorn, because I think you're going to go and see an absolute epic battle. Arthur Thurtle in YouTube as well. Go on the SRL boys, Dan, Neil and Derek. So there's a lot of love for Blade Designs in the YouTube chat this evening. Thank you so much. And as I say, don't forget to give the video a big old thumbs up as well. Not a lot of people making improvements currently. 2:56 on the clock. We saw a lot of this last season. Their first few laps, they were flying, Zach. And saying that, as I said, that Dan Mole goes purple in Sector 1. So, you know, what do I know?
What do you know? I mean, not a lot.
Not a lot, clearly, no. Not at this moment.
Yeah, Dan Mole has actually gone purple overall. Provisional pole for the number 80. He solidifies himself to this session. A fair margin, actually. 6/1000ths of a second clear from Scott McFall as it stands. Still a couple of minutes left to go. Still a couple of laps left to be set. So is all provisional at this point in time. But again, there's no incident limit for this race, is there, James? There's no incident limit. But when it comes to qualifying, you do not want to be picking up off tracks because of, you know, the stakes of this qualifying session, the amount of runoff that you actually have here at COTA. It's so easy just to drift slightly wide and lose what is a really good lap, because a good lap around a short circuit you know, on paper, it looks like it's going to be so much easier to qualify. It's not. Around a shorter circuit, you have such a much harder time to actually string a good lap together that if you just pick up a silly off track, that could be the difference between setting a pole lap and, you know, starting P5.
And let's just put it into perspective. At the moment, the software is picking up that there is currently no drivers, none, zero, with 0x. Every single driver has an off track. The only person who doesn't is Daniel Thomas, but it looks like he's only either just joining the session or has not gone out and track and set a lap at the moment. He's the only person who has got an zero off track. Everybody else has got off tracks. So that kind of sums up what we were talking about. That's a lot of drivers without laps registering there because of these off tracks.
Yep. And that could be the lap of the ages. That could be the lap that gets you onto pole position, but we would never know because you ran wide and, hey, you deserve to have that lap cut. You might say it's unfair or, oh, I didn't gain any time from that, but tough luck. iRacing is very set in stone. Everyone's in the same boat with that. You adhere to the track limits or you have your lap time invalidated, and yeah, that again will be the difference between a driver that gets on pole position and the driver that sets a time for around about P5, because at the moment 3/10 covers our top 5. Dan Mould, Scott McFall, Olivier Boltonic, Nilton Carvalho and Stuart Reynolds are your top 5, and even then, even beyond that, it's still so close. You know, I'm looking to P17. Adam Delmont, he's 8.5 tenths off P1. And that's not even to we haven't even got to the second mark, and we're already at P17 of a 26-car grid. Honestly, James, we've already said it. We've already said how well we're looking forward to this race, but I don't think any of us are expecting it to be this close, as already Boltonic has then again catapulted themselves to the top of the timing sheets.
Yeah, absolutely. And that rounds out qualifying, guys. So we will have a quick look at the grid and see how this grid is going to pan out. Olivier Boltonic is on pole, snatching it. Must have been right near the end he's done that on a 50.512. Dan Mould there behind second from Blade Design. Scott McFall in third from Sim District Vibe Esports in third place. Neil Carvalho from Vibe Sim District Esport in fourth. Stuart Reynolds in fifth. Staphis Kokorianis in sixth. Neil Ferrier in seventh. Chris Byram eighth. Danny Bleak ninth. Ivan Balkamp 10th. Dan Carpenter 11th. And Mikael Lees is down in 12th place. Derek Crowber in 13th, Dominic Herbert 14th, Lewis Archer 15th, Nicolo Pistori in 16th, Adam Delmont in 17th, Laura Ubasek in 18th, Scott Malcolm in 19th, Rob Sluter 20th, Elliot Hankin 21st, Sean Roberts is down in 22nd, Luke Mitchell 23rd, Chris Radmore is in 24th, Stuart Gismans is down in 25th, and Daniel Thomas, as I say, didn't set a lap, so it'd be interesting to see if he does grid up or not. And see how he gets on. Now, from a starter's point of view, this is going to be an interesting one, isn't it? Because that start line is on the left-hand side on that run down into turn 7. Zach, I initially thought from the track map that I've got the start line was a little bit further down, but it's actually on the run down into turn 7. So they haven't got a very long run down at all.
It is a rolling start, yes?
No.
Standing.
Standing.
Oh, this is peculiar. I mean, we are going to the lights now, but well, we'll see what the start holds for us.
Here we go, guys. 4 lights and 5 lights, and we are underway here for round 1 at Coda, and already Olivier Boltonic is under the pressure from the outside of Dan Mould. You can see them there running back through. All the cars have made it through currently at the moment. No real dangers, and considering we've got 26 cars on track, I think that's absolutely incredible. Mikael Lees there is still in 12th place. That's going to be an off track. Derek Crowther down in 13th as well. There's a lot of position changes. Danny Bleak has been off track. Stuart Gibbons has been involved in an incident, and we can have a quick look back at that now because we are not going to have very long to have a look at any incidents. Stuart Gibbons, car number 47. That is with 03, and here comes again. Oh,
easily done.
Yeah, car 3 and car number 96 there gave Stuart Gibbons. That was Daniel Thomas, and also car number 03 was Chris Radmore. But Boltonic is out in front at the minute, Zach, and seems to be flying along nicely.
Yeah, no, really managed to command the start well. There's McFall going to the inside of Dan Mould as well as they run through. They're going to go through the next right-hander. There's McFall, the Scotsman, having to tuck in behind to then the next left-hander as they will soon round off the second lap. You have to be on it already. These laps are going to tick away very quickly. You have to make the most of any opportunity that you possibly can, but also a pack like this, the cars are not separated by anything at all. If McFall and Mould fight too hard, that is going to allow Boltonic to just absolutely career off into the distance and be untouchable. We said in qualifying how difficult it is to make time up around this circuit. It's even more difficult in the race, and a monster mid-pack going to be so dangerous.
Yeah, Chris Byram from Cuda Works went around in the final corner. That would be, what's that, turn 5 for us? And that's Chris Byram and Chris Radmore have gone round. We'll have a quick look because we're not going to surround ourselves with too many. But at the moment, Chris Radmore is there. He's trying to make that move. Oh, he just loses it, comes back into the track. And I think Byram, yes. There you go, Chris Byram just kind of had nowhere to go on that one, Zach. And that's kind of the nature of the beast, isn't it?
Yep, I mean, you are at the mercy of everyone else on track as soon as you do take to a race. Side by side now with Lewis Archer to the inside there, trying to make up a move up into 9th place, but is going to be held around the outside there by Herbert, who gets the drive off the corner. Now they're going to have a drag race, and crucially for Herbert, he's got the slipstream of the car in front of Lees and is going to use that to his proper advantage. Is he actually going to go for 2 cars in 2 corners? We'll have to wait and see, because Lees goes defensive in towards the braking zone of the next left-hander of turn 2. It doesn't seem that Herbert has been able to capitalize on that too much, and Archer as well as eyeing up that move. But again, that is the thing. Move for the race lead as well, because Boltonic is tumbling down, has lost 2 places in the span of probably just as many corners. Ferreira as well going for the move to the outside. They're 3 wide on the run now through that next left-hander. Boltonic has had an absolute mare.
Yeah, he has, and there's a reason for that. He went off track and didn't get it back on. I'm not going to try and show you because at the moment they're very close together, and there's contact there as well with car number 91 with Neil Ferrier. And Boltonic is, well, he's going down the order faster than an elevator at Trump Towers, I'll tell you that much. And he's dropped all the way down into 7th place at the moment. But Stathis Kokianis is making moves up through the order. He's currently in 5th, just gone past. Currently, that would be Neil Ferrier from Team Blade Liveries, and that's Kokianis up into 4th place at the moment. There's a little gap opening up now. We've got Dominic Herbert, and then you've got that gap into Olivier Boltonic. It's only about 3 seconds, so not massive. We know that. We've seen how that could change. But there's battles all the way through, and you know, from our point of view, We'll try and show as much as we possibly can, guys, but please bear with us because we will try and pick up on all the action, and there is a hell of a lot of it going on at the moment, and Lewis Archer is involved in pretty much most of it at the moment as he battles away with Stan Carpenter as these guys are heading round what would be turn 11, and then we got down the straight. The problem is you kind of got a draft fest here because Lewis Archer's getting the draft from Dan, Dan's getting the draft from Dominic, and Dominic is trying to make a move on Mikel Lees. So it's all kind of as they were going down the end of the straight.
It all sort of negates itself when you've got a slipstream fest like this, moves left, right and centre. But I can tell you one thing for 3, pretty much only one thing in this race so far is a guarantee, and that is that it's not very nice words coming out of the mouth of Olivier Boltonic after the reaction to what just happened and that whole ordeal. He is not going to be too pleased at all. He's got a mammoth task to try and recover as best he can. The first person on the list is Kokorigiannis. The Greek just in front of him there for P5, and already going to go for the almighty send under brakes. Brilliantly done there from Boltonic. And yeah, Kokorigiannis did have no answer to that one bit. He's going to try and get the drive now down this back straight towards T2, but is it going to be to any avail? Because you can see the Boltonic certainly has got the inside locked firm. You can see Bleak there also eyeing up a bit of action. Looking to the left-hand side. Is he brave on the brakes? Yes, he is. In that Audi, late on the brakes as Kokorigiannis got it on the outside. The track gets taken away from yet another mistake from Boltonic, and that could open the door for Bleak to the inside, but to no avail once more. And well, Boltonic, very tough job for the rest of this race. Fortunately for him, he has got the reverse grid race as well to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Kokorogiannis there is absolutely got kind of bullied out from Olivier Boltonic and Danny Bleak. And now these guys are fighting. Lewis Archer is still mixed up with Mikael Lees and Ivan Balkamp there, the two guys from Cuda Works and Cuda Evo, Lewis Archer and Ivan Balkamp respectively as well. And then obviously we've got Dan Carpenter. Mikael Lees has run wide. He is off the track at the moment. At this current vein, Lewis Archer is got the inside line. Ivan Balkamp's got the draft. Can he hold it on this run down this straightaway now before they go down into the final corner? As they come across now, it looks like Mikael Lees has managed to hold that, Zach, and that's not didn't seem to an easy move there, because I thought he was going to lose that on that drag down that straight.
Yeah, easily done. Is very straight line dependent is this circuit, and of course with touring cars, front wheel drive around the outside of anywhere, you know, is going to be tricky because naturally the car on the inside wants to, you know, career and understeer. That's the nature of front wheel drive cars. You have more stress on the front tires, which are doing the power delivery and the turning. The load underneath them is so much. You can't exactly trust it like a rear wheel drive car, like a GT, where you can just chuck it in, slide it a little bit and hang on. No, in a touring car, you're going to run off wide to the exit of the circuit. So on the outside, you are pretty much asking for disaster. It can easily happen, as it has been proven with moves to the inside. Very difficult to go to the outside. Once again, we've got another move side by side as they run in towards what will be T2. This is where we are going to see the majority of our action, and Balkamp having to tuck in behind down to P13. But this mid-pack is absolutely crazy. There's moves being made. There's people trying to defend and attack all at the same time. Argy-bargy all the way through. And honestly, that mid-pack is a war zone. Yeah, absolutely. And even further down, we've got Derek Crowther. He's got Stuart Reynolds for company. He's trying to catch up to Elliot Hankin from GTR Evolution. But that battle in the midfield, Adam Delmont, Ivan Balkamp, and Lewis Archer, at one point, Lewis was in front of them, so he's managed to lose 2 positions. Adam passed Ivan and Adam passed Lewis. So we got 2 people there, and Ivan passed Lewis as well. So Archer there dropping down 2 positions. Nicola Pastore is in a battle with Scott Malcolm from Ignium Motorsports as well. And there is pockets of battles going on all the way down, but there's one up front with Dan Mould and Scott McFall as these guys are going through the right and left before we head off onto what is potentially the turn 10 in the full Grand Prix circuit. Nothing to choose between these two at the moment. There's people off track all over the place. If I was to show you everyone, it would just be replay, 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 and we're not going to do that. But at the moment, Dan Mould is defending harder than a Jose Mourinho football team. I'll give him that much at the moment, with Scott McFall right behind him, Zach. Absolutely. I mean, we have to prioritize the action that we broadcast, and it is usually the high stakes one, the fights for the race lead, the fights for championship defining positions. Of course, we don't have those yet. It's only round 1, the first race of this season, and already we're starting it off in fantastic fashion. Mould leads from McFall, and both of them are breaking free from Nilton Carvalho, who is to the extent of around about 2 seconds back off the race lead. So these two, I think, maybe a mutual agreement to say, right now it's a 2-horse race. If we start to fight, it will very quickly become a 3, 4, maybe even a 5-horse race, and we don't want to deal with that. I think these two are going to say to themselves, let's save the battle in for the last sort of 3, 4, 5 laps of this race, and then go at it. Because right now, if they start to fight too hard, it can very quickly backfire on the pair of them. Yeah, a little bit worried about Derek Crowther here. He has gone off track and has jumped straight into the pits. So we're going to just try and see what... Oh! That is with one of the GTR Evolution boys. That's car number 44. That is Elliot Hankin. And that could explain why both men are currently sat in the pits there. Derek Crowther from Blade and Elliot Hankin from GTR Evolution are all together in the pits. We've got pretty much 6 cars in the pits at the moment. And Ivan Balkamp, Adam Delmont, Lewis Archer are still battling it out. These 3 cars have been together all the way through for the first 12 laps of this race, and they're still racing now. Oh, Balkamp sent it up on Delmont there. And now it's time for Lewis Archer to have a go and see how he goes on. But, God, that was a cent and a half. And now Scott Malcolm has made it through Delmont as well. So Delmont, unfortunately for him, has lost currently 3 positions and is now dropping down into 14th place. Oh, that was a bit of a fierce one from Balkamp there. Yeah, I mean, it was, and the smallest of mistakes from anyone can have the most drastic of consequences. You can see Delmont already straight back onto the offensive to the inside of what will be T1, T11 of the full Grand Prix layout. Very wide and then tightens up on the exit. So the inside line is good to get the move done, but you can see that Malcolm has the drive off the corner, has that advantage, that momentum to propel himself now to the left-hand side, the inside line for what will be T2. So they're fighting over what is 13th place. Delmont is going to have to concede unless he tries it to the outside. Great respect between the pair of them, but unfortunately for Delmont, he's going to have to play second fiddle and fall back into P14. But yeah, again, these touring cars, it's notorious as side-by-side just in behind them as well for what is 15th place between Stuart Reynolds, who has really had a stinker, started P5, had the worst of starts in the world, and down to P16, so can really show you how quickly this series can chop and change.
But that's easily done on a very short circuit. You've only got to take one line wrong, and with everybody so close as they were at that beginning, you're losing positions hand over foot, and I think that's what's happened to Stuart Reynolds. But I want to pop back to Mikael Lees and Dominic Herbert. They are literally nothing at the moment. We've got car number 55, which is Mikael Lees on the inside, Dominic Herbert on the out in the green GTR. And again, and that is now Mikael Lees through. The up front, Dan Mould and Scott McFall are literally nothing between them again, as these guys are sweeping up to the left-hander, which is turn 11 here at the Circuit of America's East Circuit as well. Chris Byram in chat, taken out by a Cuda car, lap 1 at my hairpin, and then collected again by a car that lost it on the brakes into the hairpin again. Yeah, we did have a look at that, unfortunately, there, but it did look an unfortunate incident. He hit the barrier, come back into the track, and then tagged you from behind. But at the moment, Zach, these guys are literally throwing everything at each other, including the kitchen sink, I would imagine, out of them windows of them Hyundai and Audi, respectively, of course. There's nothing to choose, and we say they're not going to fight, but the races drivers, Zach, you want to go down and tell them not to battle each other? Oh,
absolutely not. Oh, no. Oh, Dan Mould, he's done so well to hang on to that one. Is Carvalho going to get involved in this one? Yes, he is. Under and over, gets the drive. Now up into second place. That is gutting for Dan Mould, who so far has dealt brilliantly with the pressure from McFall, has put up a valiant defense and once again tagged round slightly side by side there. That's Boltonic, I think, going around the outside of Niels Ferreira and is going to go slightly off the circuit. Only gets a 1x for it though, gets the drive off the corner now in a straight drag fight all the way down, and Dan Mould is trying to hold off the offensive from Niels Ferreira, and it's all kicking off there. You can see to the right hand side they are going to go 2 by 2, 2 rows deep into turn 2. They're going to try it as best they can, the two teammates trying to help each other to the best of their abilities as well. Dan Mould hangs on for the what will be P4, I believe, and is going to try and do it. But here comes Ferreira to the inside. Boltonic trying to get involved too, and everyone is all kicking off. But Mould is not giving this one up easy at all.
No, absolutely not. Bear the timing software on the left-hand side, guys. It is currently frozen. I'm trying to do my best to correct it, but at the moment I'm going to have to wait until it has a little bit of a breakdown and go reset itself. So if everything's looking rather frosty at the moment, that would be why. So Ivan Baukamp there as well is currently down in 10th place. Up front is Nilton Cavallio, Scott McFall, Dan Mould, Olivier Boltonic and Neil Ferrier are mixed up in this little bit of a battle, and I am trying to reload the software at the same time, and currently it is not happening, so just bear with me while we try and do that. As you can see, it's all gone a little bit wrong. All the liveries are changing colour, but we will try and deal with these technical issues as we go. But Zach, this is just incredible. You know, so unlucky for Dan Mould. He was absolutely flying, and you know, now finds himself down in 3rd place under attack from Olivier Boltonic with Nilton Cavallio in front of him.
Look what it started though. It's triggered a what is it, a Carvalho, Mould, Boltonic and Ferreira, a four-way fight for second place. McFall is taken off into the distance, but here's the move now, and Boltonic is eyeing up the move to the left-hand side, what will be of T1 of this circuit. He sends the move, brilliantly done there from Boltonic, the reigning champion. Dan Mould, though, going to go the long way round, get the drive off the corner, of course, use that momentum, doesn't really care where the track limits are at all, as long as he can put his right foot to the floor, getting the slipstream off the car ahead as well. Bit of door bang as they run their way through, that is to be expected. Dan Mould now on the defensive, he's got his teammate Justin behind him as well, who might actually be able to go and follow Boltonic through in towards T2. Dan Mould left to dry on the outside there. Boltonic up into P3. Dan Mould demoted to 4th, and still the fight continues into the next left-hander. Dan Mould going to try and go for the switchback. Bit of contact. Boltonic sent round again. Oh my word, the reigning champion has not had the best of races today.
No, Olivier Boltonic has round again, and he's gone again. Oh no, Olivier Boltonek twice within about 2 corners has been sent round, and that's Dan Mould now up into 3rd place, unceremoniously I might add as well, and unfortunately for him he's now trying to battle off Neil Ferrier, his teammate, but poor old Boltonek, he just kind of lost it a little bit, and then everybody comes swamping in. Mikael Lees is still trying to have a go at Ivan Balkamp, chasing down by Lewis Archer, Scott Malcolm as well, but Rob Sluter and Nicolo Pastore are still having a battle, and it looks like Sluter has got the job done for Rockstar Sim Racing in front. Currently the man from the United States as well, Adam Delmont, is also in with Stuart Malcolm as well. There is pockets of battles all arranged coming over, and we've only got 2 laps left. Zach, where do you want to point the camera? Because I'm not quite sure what's going to be the best position to find out where all this action is, because currently there is loads of it.
There is even more drama, chaos, excitement, you name it, and this race has it. Lees now to the inside, bit of contact, sends him wide. That is not great. All he careers himself understeer. That is the problem with touring cars, is the understeer, and very, very sketchy as well. A lot of danger to be had with that one. On to what is now the 3rd to last lap 19 of 21. Not long left to go in this first race at all, but Scott McFall has had an absolutely dominant affair. Now Olivier Boltonek under pressure from Danny Bleak towards T2. Bit of pressure being put on, but not enough to fabricate the move for now. But as we move on to the penultimate lap of this race, 2 more laps left to go. The opportunities are running thin. There's the move from Boltonek to get himself back onto the podium, or is that for a lap car? I think that's actually for a lap car.
That's Daniel Thomas.
Got excited for a moment.
That's all right. It was Daniel Thomas there as well. So poor old Daniel Thomas is trying to get out of the way for everybody. The problem is when he gets out of the way for one, they all come strewn through like an absolute freight train, and Olivier Boltonek is now back up into 4th. Danny Bleak is in 5th. Dan Mould is down in 6th. Staphis Kokoro-Giannis is in 7th place. Ivan Balkamp is in 8th. Is a lot bit further back. He's currently mixed up in the battle with Dominic Herbert, Lewis Archer, Ivan Balkamp, Stuart Reynolds, Stuart Malcolm, Mikael Lees. Any one of them can take that position away, and I think it's going to be even more exciting as we come on to the final lap of the race. We'll pick up the leader. I'll keep an eye on him. He is running around, currently round in turn 9, but at the moment Danny Bleak and Dan Mould are swapping positions. There's been so many overtakes, it's not worth reading out. And oh, here we go again. Dan Mould looking at sending it up the inside. He's not going to get it on this one, but he has got that short shot right down into the hairpin.
He has he been able to do it. We'll have to keep an eye on our race leader as well, of Scott McFall, who will soon cross the line to take victory here for race number 1. But Danny Bleak still on the defensive. Dan Mould trying to go the long way round. That's brave, that's bold, and he's just about managed to do it. He might be under pressure as well, just in from behind, but Danny Bleak doing his best to hang on. Yeah,
and here we go with Scott McFall. He's going to come across the line, take the checkered flag for the first victory this evening as well for him. So Scott McFall is your victor. Now Danny Bleak, Staphis Kokoro-Giannis, and also Dan Mould are still having a battle. Can Dan Mould get this on the way down? He did. Dan Mould, Danny Bleak, Staphis Kokoro-Giannis has finished as well. That's 6th, 7th and 8th place. Further down the order, Stuart Reynolds from GTR, Dominic Herbert and Lewis Archer come across the line. They were literally together all the way through the race, as was Ligonel Pastore and Rob Sluter. And then we've got, of course, we've got Sean Roberts and Mikael Lees. It's be interesting to find where if I can just see what happened to Mikael Lees there, because he was up the middle of the order. And let's see if I can just pick up this little bit of an off track just here for Mikael Lees and find out if this was under his own doing. Oh, okay, maybe not. There we go. The session has changed over, so we are now going in to the warm-up. Well, I think as race ones go, that was literally insane. But I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's have a look at the results of race 1, because that was just absolutely incredible from Heat 1. And here we go. Scott McFall is your victor. Nilton Cavallio in 2nd there. Neil Ferrier in 3rd. Olivier Boltonek in 4th. Dan Mould, so unlucky, was absolutely defending his heart out against Scott McFall, finished in 5th place. Danny Bleak in 6th. Staphis Kokoro-Giannis is in 7th. Ivan Balkamp 8th. Lewis Archer 9th. Stuart Reynolds in 10th. Scott Malcolm in 11th. Rob Sluter 12th. Nicolo Pastore in 13th. Sean Roberts 14th. Mikael Lees 15th. Dominic Herbert 16th. Adam Delmont 17th. Daniel Thomas is down in 18th place. Luke Mitchell in 19th, Dan Carpenter in 20th, Elliot Hankin at 21st. These are the ones that are the first of the non-finishes was Elliot Hankin. Derek Crowder at 22nd, Laura Ubasek 23rd, Chris Radmore 24th, Chris Byram 25th, Stuart Gibbons 26th. And I also don't believe Luke Mitchell finished either. So Daniel Thomas and Adam Delmont were the last remaining people, one lap down. And I think from our point of view, I don't know about you, but I'll happily take more of the same of that.
For sure. I mean, yeah, if they can keep it clean and keep it towards the sharp end of the field as well. Fights for the race lead with how close it was. I mean, it was incredible to watch amongst all of them. It was great action, you know, side by side for a number of corners at a time, and for high stakes positions as well. We had our fair share of, you know, drama and chaos, which is a balance that you certainly need to be met. The excitement of nice clean racing, but also the chaos of you know, someone getting tapped around just a little bit, as we saw with Boltonic, who coming into this race pole position and emerged after the, you know, first couple of laps down in, you know, P3, P4, and amongst that sort of that fight, hanging on to the top 5, and did really well to recover. But now it's all turned on its head. It really is, because 26 cars, full reverse grid. Those that were towards the sharp end in race 1 have a really, really tough ask if they want to be fighting for the same places here in race 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be incredible. Chris Byram in chat, chatting away he was, bless him. Dan, prizes for guessing who the CUDA driver was. Dan won't be happy with that. That is some tough racing. Amazing. Our very own Zach, who's in the booth with me and typing in YouTube. Look at that. The man can multitask as well. And then it's Chris as well. The Audi is great for the hairpin. Daniel Lewis, let's go, Dan. And there, Chris again. Well done, Scott. That was just, I think, in a way, it was almost like that is the old school BTCC touring car action that I grew up watching as a kid, and this series just kind of epiphanises that. And I think at the end of the day, it's just incredible, isn't it? You know, that racing was close. There was battles all the way through. So unlucky for Dan Mould. He's going to be not too happy at all, I think, with that one as well. But there was a lot of non-finishers, and I'm sure they're going to want to go out in this feature and try and get some points on the board if they can, because obviously they're going to be looking at starting a little bit further up the grid as well. I do need to check on Chris, actually, you may be able to help me here on the finishing positions. If they don't finish the race, do you go on to P1 still, or do you finish at the back of the thing? I'll have to check on that, because I know some series, if you don't complete a certain amount of laps, you do not go on to the front. So we'll keep an eye on that one, Zach, and see how that one materialises. But if that's anything to go by, this 30-lap feature, well, we're going to be having heart attacks, mate, I think.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to have to be up and down in terms of where we point the camera, because it's going to be everywhere. Hopefully the action sort of stays towards the top half, because those are the battles that we really, really like to see. But at the end of the day, racing is racing. Cars are going side by side, whether it's for first or for 20th, and if it's good racing, it's good racing. And those are the sort of the bits of action that we really get excited about, is the ones where they're really going for, they're being respectful. Because nowadays it's so easy to just say, I've got the inside now, it's my corner, I'm going to run you wide on the outside, blah 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 blah, bada bing, you shouldn't have been there, and just be really stubborn with that. But then you also get the, you know, the respectful ones, the ones where it's like, it takes two to tango, it takes two to put on a good show, and they go side by side, they give the space, they don't run each other off the track, and then, yeah, and then that materializes into some really, really good racing. But yeah, it's going to be even more crucial now, because we have a close grid as it is, to then have it flipped on its head, and to have, you know, some drivers that already in race 1 are giving it everything to defend every position possible. Those in race 1 that want to make their way towards the top here in race 2, they're going to be giving it everything to attack. But also the fights that we saw for P13, people aren't giving those lower places up easy at all. They are fighting tooth and nail for even P13, P14, P15, because you still get points for those places. So even if you are Olivier Boltonic, even if you are, you know, the likes of Dan Mould, you are still going to have a tough time finding a way through, purely because of how hard you're being fought.
Yeah, and where would you go with that, though? You know, we've seen it with Dan Mould, unfortunately, spun out. What? I don't really know how they're going to approach this next part of the race, though, because of the fact that they're going to be fighting even harder. You know, these guys are quick. Boltonic is quick. Mould is quick. And the guys further up the field may not also be as quick as them, so they've got to try and get through. But there's just no room. They haven't got the run. They've got this little bit of the run down here from the hairpin at 11 all the way down to what is potentially the last corner here to try and make some moves. But if they're free wide, or if there's cars in front and there's nowhere to go and they're free wide, there's just no way through. So how would you, you know, from your point of view, Zach, how would you play the feature if you're starting at the back of the grid?
With caution but aggression. You have to balance it. It's a fine balancing act. You know, I've done my fair share of races started at the back of the grid. I'll put my hand on my heart and say that I'm not the best of qualifiers by any stretch of imagination. I certainly do pride myself more on consistency and racecraft, but again, I'll blow my own trumpet another day. But in my own personal experience, starting from the back of the grid, you have to take an air of caution. You have to remember it's a long race, but also you have to remember that if you don't get these moves done early, as soon as that pack starts to spread out a little bit, as soon as you get bogged down behind drivers who are maybe a couple of tenths a lap slower than you, then you lose a lot of time overall to those that you really want to be catching, those for the top 10. So yes, you need to be careful and pick your way through carefully, not get involved in any accidents, but also you do need to act with a bit of haste. You need to fight your way through while everyone's still bunched up. So, you know, it's a vast contradiction. I'm saying don't be an idiot, but also be aggressive. It's silly. It's like giving a toddler a fork and saying don't put it into that socket, but you're sitting them right next to that socket. It's bizarre, it's silly, but it's true. You have to be aggressive, but also not be an idiot. And that is going to be something that we're going to see a lot of, is people maybe, you know, finding the boundaries with that one, maybe leaning more towards the more conservative side and some leaning more towards the aggressive side. It's those that can find the golden mean, the middle ground, are going to be the ones that ascend to the top. Yeah,
absolutely. I do love that analogy. You know, give a baby a fork and sit next to a plug. You can guarantee he's going to stick it in it. Trust me, I've got a 5-year-old. I know what you mean by that one. But there you go, guys, as well. Scott Malcolm, much love to you. Michael Hepburn and P1 Rearwell as well. Commentary supplied by JPB Broadcasting with myself, James Parfitt, and Zach Sweeney in the booth. So stay tuned because we've got 1 minute 54 left of practice before we go again for a 30-lap feature. And just to spice it up, Zach, they've decided to throw in a mandatory drive-through as well.
That again, that's another thing. Completely forgot about that until you brought it to my attention. What a great co-commentator I am. But no, it's it's something that is going to play into the mix, because again, we saw in race 1 how close everyone is. If you can get a pocket of clear air, if you can pit a lap earlier, if you can pit a couple of laps later, get that track to yourself and put in the lap times, you, relatively speaking to everyone else, are going to gain time. So even though it's not even for fuel, not even tires, you just have to drive through the pit lane. You know, something as simple as that can have such a massive impact, such a massive implication onto this race. And it's it's the smallest of things, the smallest of changes to an already pretty good format that, again, add to it, because it's another thing to think about. It's another variable into the mix, and another thing that is adding to what is a very spiced up field already.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw a lot of it was really bizarre last year as well, because that kind of mandatory drive-through did bring a lot of different strategies. We had people taking them literally after lap 1. We had people taking them literally on the last lap. Now, it does have to be done before the last lap of the race. You can't drive through on the last lap. Not as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure that was in the rules as well. So from that side of things, would you get it done early and just go in and get it done and see where you come out? Or if you're in the lead, would you hold it out as long as possible?
Oh, that's a tricky question. I'm to the assumption they can serve it at any point in the race.
Yep, it must be done before. I'm pretty positive it's before the last lap.
I'd do it on the first lap. Personally, I'd get it done and over and done with on that first lap, because you know things are going to go wrong. You know when a field as close as this, things are going to go wrong. People are going to spin. People are going to crash. You don't want any part of that. Maybe, actually, if you're starting towards the front, go late. If you're starting towards the back, go early. Is how I tackle this one personally, because if you're the reigning champion, if you're a race winner from race 1, you want as much time in clear air as possible.
Right, the question is answered about the percentage of racing as done there, because Stuart Gibbons is on first place. Chris Byram in second, Chris Radmore in third, Laura Ubersex in fourth, Derek Crowber in fifth, Elliot Hankin sixth, Dan Carpenter seventh, Luke Mitchell eighth, Daniel Thomas is ninth, Adam Dalmont is in 10th place, Dominic Herbert is in 11th, and Mikael Lees down in 12th. Sean Roberts is in 13th, Nicola Pastori 14th, Rob Sluter 15th, Scott Malcolm 16th, Stuart Reynolds 17th, Lewis Archer out 18th. Ivan Balkamp 19th. Staphis Kokoro-Giannis in 20th. Danny Bleak 21st. Dan Mould 22nd. Olivier Boltonek 23rd. And Neil Farrier 24th. Neil Carvalho in 25th. And Scott McFall is the last driver on the grid in 26th place. And that is going to be a little bit of a mission. We're going to jump up front now because the lights are going to be on. We are going to be away. Scott Gibbons, Chris Byron, Chris Radmore's in the pits, so that's a free position for anyone else. And we are away. The lights are out. 30 laps here tonight, and currently Stuart Gibbons is leading us down into the tricky left-hander on this opening part of this feature race. And he's locked in there. Now let's jump into the middle of the pack. Look at this. There's the contact we had. That's Dominic Herbert playing pinballed there between the Luke Mitchell and Daniel Thomas from Cuda Evo and GTR Evolution respectively. But currently they are going all over the place. Elliot Hankin is having a go. Rod Sluter is in there as well, Zach. Wow, what an unbelievable start. And at the moment, Chris Byram is leading us away. I think there was contact there as well. Look at that.
Oh my word, that is, oh jeez. Oh wow, that no words, to be honest. It's a war zone. You cannot, there's no safe place in that mid-pack at all. Chris Bryan and Stuart Gibbons have got to be counting their lucky stars there. Derek Crowther, I say that, actually, Stuart Gibbons is actually taking his drive-through. I think he's into the pit lane. A lot of people opting to do it on this opening lap. So pretty sort of, a lot of people having the same mindset here because already they've had a spin. They might as well just take the deficit of the drive-through early. Just look at how busy it's getting out there. They're all going so slowly, still fighting side by side despite being under the pit limiter. But the only person out there who had a clean start was Chris Byram, and he had a clear track ahead of him.
Yeah, well, this is how it all started. This is on board with Nicholas Pastori. He goes up the inside. I've got a funny feeling this is going to be outbraking himself with overspeed. And there you go. That is where it all commences off. Nicola Pastori involved in that one. Sean Roberts, Scott Malcolm, Ivan Balkamp, Staphis Kokoro-Giannis in there as well. And that is where it originally kicked off from. And that is why we have got Pastori in the pits, Ferrier in the pits, Rob Sluter in the pits as well. And that isn't for their mandatory stop. I believe that is under the fact that they are sat there. But currently, Daniel Thomas from the Cuda Evo is trying to defend from Elliot Hankin, sorry, in 7th and 8th. Now, what are the leaders here? Because Scott McFall is now up 13 into 13th. Nilton Cavallio is in front of him. Dan Mould is in front of that, and Olivier Boltonek is in front of that as well. So them guys, in conjunction to everybody else, Zach, had a fairly good start, to be fair.
They did. They made the most of the carnage, the chaos. Boltonek now side by side with Dominic Herbert. The drag race, again, Herbert using that outside line, the swing, to then get the drag race all the way down towards T2. But you can see Boltonek is not going to back down one bit. Dan Mould also there, just in the background, a shot, eyeing up a bit of a move. Under brakes, the 45, Boltonek to the inside. Dan Mould going to follow them through as well. As you can see, as soon as you make a tiny mistake, as soon as a gap opens, you can bet your bottom dollar that people are going to follow you through. And it's like karting. They're bumper to bumper to bumper, just like a karting race. As soon as the gap opens, everyone behind freight trains their way through. Thank you very much. That's an easy place for me. So you cannot be affording to be offline one bit. But Boltonek of our front lot has made the perfect start, balanced the conservative and the aggressive start to perfection, made the most of people's mistakes around him, and is now on a charge to the front.
Yeah, absolutely. He's now up 16 places. He's got Elliot Hankin in front of him, Dan Mould behind him. Further down, battle for 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. Kokoro-Giannis, Ivan Balkamp, Daniel Thomas, they're all locked in as well. And there's people off the track. Chris Radmore is in here as well. Ivan Balkamp there as well. Was involved in a fair few of his own little shortcomings last season. So hopefully Ivan would have gone away and adjusted that. And it's going to come back a little bit, you know, how can I say it? Confident. There we go. Let's go for that one. But Dan Mould and Elliot Hankin. No! Oh! Not again for Dan Mould. That's allowed Scott McFall, Nilton Cavallio, Lewis Archer, Olivier Boltonek, Luke Mitchell, Stuart Reynolds, and Dan Mould is still going down the order, as is Elliot Hankin. And I think Dan is back out on track, but he's going to lose another position to Ivan Balkamp. And that is Dan Mould, after his amazing start, is now down in 9th place. And then that was a shame. 2 races. He's got to be gutted.
There's not much more you can say to that one at all.
No.
Boltonic and Archer side by side. Still, we have to focus on the action again. Too wide just in behind them as well. Boltonic is stuck on the outside, late on the brakes though, and confident to swoop to the outside. Archer does give a wide berth on the outside. Will be the inside line for the next left-hander for Archer. Can Boltonic be bold and brave? And you can see that Archer just tucking in, playing second fiddle, knows his race is not with the Belgian, and instead to try and consolidate this, what will be 8th place for now. Here's Balkamp trying to make amends and up into 11th place. But yeah, for Mold, you can't have anything but sympathy for him, because whether it is his fault or not, the incident, it's still a shame. You still have to let your heart go out to him, because 2 races in a row, no one deserves that luck. And he had a great race up until now. Still not over, but you can certainly say that it's a little bit tarnished, and a shadow's been cast over this race.
Yeah, we've got 23 laps remaining, so he has got a bit of an opportunity. But Luke Mitchell is under attack from Stuart Reynolds here as well. The Honda versus the Audi on this drag race down into the final corner. The left-hander behind that, Dominic Herbert and Ivan Balkamp as well. And that looks like we've got Stuart Reynolds through. Dominic Herbert has gone through there as well, done and dusted. Daniel Thomas, Derek Carver, Sean Roberts as well. So Dominic Herbert, should we say, from GTR Evolution. GTR is chasing down Luke Mitchell from GTR Evolution, being chased by the CUDA Evo boys of Ivan Balkamp and Daniel Thomas. So a kind of an inter-team war happening at the moment further down the field there, Zach.
It is, and again, a war zone. There's Mitchell to the inside, or Balkamp now trying to make his way up as well. It's absolutely insane between all of them. Ivan Balkamp getting a little bit too greedy there, maybe biting off a bit too much than he can chew. He was trying to go for 2 cars in the span of 1 corner, and well, he's going to try and make it 2 cars in just as many corners, because now he might be eyeing up the inside to the left. He's going to pull out as late as he can and brake as late as he dare, and towards T2 you can see there he's getting given a wide berth there by Herbert, who has to tuck in behind, and it's going to be the outside line once more into T3. He's going to be a lot more braver than he was with Boltonic, but not quite brave enough. There's Ivan Balkamp, the Dutchman, up inside the top 10 now, and I step firmly forward.
Yeah, he's now going to start focusing on Stuart Reynolds. Further down the order, we've got Sean Roberts, Daniel Thomas, Chris Radmore, and Kokoro Giannis here as well, from having a bit of a scrap with Chris Radmore from P1 Racing, Kokoro from CUDA AMS as well. So these guys are having this little bit of a battle here further down the order for the last points paying position here in the feature in the 16th place. Luke Mitchell, however, has got Daniel Thomas for company now with Sean Roberts. Ivan Balkamp has just been passed again by Dominic Herbert, so these guys are backwards and forwards in their changing positions, swapping as well and consistently going at each other. But Sean Roberts from HPD there, Team Dacia, trying to track down onto the back of Luke Mitchell, who in that GTR Evolution Honda is not always looking comfortable and is looking a little bit slidey on lap 9, and we've still got 21 laps remaining. So again, Zach, we've got this pocket of battles that are happening all the way through the field. You can see it on the track map. We've got drivers still to take the drive through. We've got drivers who have taken their drive through, and now it's just a matter, as we can see here, that is Luke Mitchell. I believe that could be, no, it wasn't Chris Radmore. I believe it might have been Daniel Thomas there and knocking into Luke Mitchell. So there we go. But yeah, Luke Mitchell, Daniel Thomas. It was Daniel Thomas there having a go, as Chris Radmore is now looking at sending up the inside of Daniel Thomas. It kind of returns the favour, shall we say, of what happened with him and Luke Mitchell earlier on. The action's hotting up. No, Scott McFall is still making moves. He's coming back through the field, chasing down Laura Ubasek from CUDA AMT here as well. I got to be honest, though, I do love Laura's livery. I think that is absolutely astounding, and a lot of thought put into that, so well played to her, like. But Scott McFall's through and is now up 23 positions.
The Scotsman is a man on a mission, it really must be said, in that 23 machine. The Aldi has been flying up to the front of the field, has not wasted any second in this race, and you can't. The sprint format of these races, even the feature race is more of a sprint. 30 laps isn't a lot. They go by quickly. You haven't got the opportunity to be waiting around. And McFall knows that. He's used this pace to good effect. He's used his experience and his, just picking his way through, waiting for the perfect opportunity, now flying through. We're going to take a look at the the last lap for them. Scott McFall a 51.2, and that was obviously with trying to carve his way a couple of cars as well. Chris Brime is holding the pace well, you know, doing well up towards the front, because a 5-second gap over Adam Delmont is pretty good. We'll see what Scott McFall does on this lap in clear air. A 50.8, a whole, what was that, you know, nearly 3 attempts quicker than those in front. It's a big gap to close, but he has got the pace advantage over them as well.
Yeah, at the bottom of the screen, you can see the lap times for the last laps between Scott McFall and Chris Byram up front. So it is showing you how much pace McFall is taking out of Byram. It took 3 attempts and 800s as well. So, and then he lost a little bit of time on lap 11. So we can keep an eye on that one for the ever decreasing gap of Scott McFall. Mind you, it is out at about 9 seconds back to the leader. So we are asking a lot of Scott McFall, currently on 10 seconds there. But I think, to be honest, he's probably more capable as Mikel Leese and Laura Ubasek are coming together. Oh, Leese is out of shape. And that could have been a lot worse than what it is there, Zach, because Mikel Leese was going into that corner under very squirrely conditions.
Yeah, to say the least. Is that one managing to keep it pointing the right way, which is always good to be pointing the right way. But fighting for P4 now is Michael Leese against Laura Ubersax, just in front for P4. Looking to the left and filling the mirrors, definitely Laura going to the left-hand side in a defensive manner, but has been baited, goes in deep. Leese over and under, gets the drive off the corner. Ubersax defending thinner, has been caught out by the dummy by Leese, and is now going to pay the price for doing so. Bit of wheel banging as they run their way through side by side. That is always going to end in disaster, or at least flirt with it. Under brakes for T2, squirming as they go through. Ubersax trying to hang the long way around, not quite able to, and Mikel Leese up into 4th place. Had to work for it, though. Yeah,
and he went in so deep. Ubersax just couldn't turn in at all. But Sean Roberts here is having mixed up in an absolutely incredible battle with Chris Radmore. Radmore there, car number 33 on the right-hand side, as these guys are heading down into the final corner here at the Coda East Circuit as well, which has provided us with incredible racing. Now, one of the things I am a little bit worried about is what has happened to Dan Mold here as well. So Dan Mold, that is one of the other Kubanams. That's Kokorianis. Dan Mold on the left-hand side. He's going to cut straight across him, isn't he? Yep. And Dan Mold goes round there as well. You can see that coming out. There was almost that vortex of terror left open. And now Lewis Archer is also trying to be under attack from Stuart Reynolds in the Audi. Lewis in the Honda. Changed over from the Hyundai, if I'm not mistaken, from last season, and is battling down in 8th place. He is up 10, mind you. Stuart Reynolds up 10 as well. So, and Nilton Carvalho is behind him, up 16. So good gains from these guys so far in the race. We're halfway through now. 15 laps remaining. The only way can be forward.
For sure, and Stuart Reynolds up into 7th place. He is a well-decorated driver amongst sim racing, a couple of iRacing championships that he does compete in as well. He's a multiple-time race winner, I'm sure, and definitely with a bit more consistency could be a championship contender. So certainly showing his mettle amongst other ranks as well and other disciplines. The only other time I've seen him is in GT. So to come into completely different cars are these touring cars, you know, completely different drive chains, aero packages, tires and all that. He's certainly showing that he's very adaptable and very flexible in what he can drive, but holding his own up into P7 from what was 17th on the grid, up 10 places. Same to Lewis Archer from P18 on the grid, but just in behind them, Nilton Carvalho up 16. So a lot of big gainers in this field, but with that comes a lot of big losers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean Roberts is now trying to get back at Dan Mold with Chris Radmore behind him as well. That gap had come right down just a minute ago and has now gone back out again. So we'll jump back up to Laura Ubersack and Olivier Boltonek as well. It's a weird one with these cars though, Dan, because, sorry, not Dan, Zach, because we talk about aero packages. There ain't much on these, is there? You know, they're more kind of 4 wheels and here's a body shell. As we see, Ubersack is going to move over and literally Boltonek is going to make her way through, and also Adam Delmont as well. You know, there's not much of an aero package. It's not like they're going to jump into a Merc F1 car and produce, you know, the same aero as you would in here, are they? They're kind of a different kind of machine, these TCRs.
They are. They're something completely different. You have to pretty much learn how to drive all over again. Yes, the basics of braking in a straight line, don't do this, don't do that, do this and do that. But it's so much more different because you go from single seaters or GTs, aerodynamically capable cars, and then you go into this, which is a glorified road car at best. It's your road car with slight tweaks here and there, and an aero package whacked on top of it, and of course a race livery to go with it. And honestly, that is it. That is about all you've got. You've got to work with what you're given, the package that you're given, the machinery that you're given, and just go with it. Front wheel drivers, honestly, I never really like them at all. But some people prefer them, as it's getting very argy-bargy in this fight for what is P16 between Radmore and Mitchell, and also another car trying to get into the mix also. But yeah, again, these TC cars are all over the place and always willing to throw a curveball 3 wide as they run towards T2. And why can't we have this action towards the front?
Oh, I don't know, but it's Chris Radmore, Luke Mitchell, and 939 is Luke Mitchell, Chris Radmore, and Sean Roberts. And I've just the thing is, this race is so impressive. I think that actually in the middle could be a back marker. That looks like Rob Sluter. Is Rob still out on track? He's not. So it's one of the other Rockstar Sims, Danny Bleak, I am going to be presuming, that was involved in that mission, that sort of battle with Daniel Thomas and Luke Mitchell and Chris Radmore. Olivier Boltonek now has got Adam Delmont. Adam's putting him under pressure. Dominic Herbert, however, is trying to get back at Mikael Lees and has got half a second gap back to Ivan Balkamp. So we're still battling. We've still got 11 laps to go, and there's still a lot of changes can happen throughout this field. As we can see now, Dominic Herbert has made that move past Mikael Lees. He kind of wants to get back in if he can. Oh, actually, hold on. Yeah, Mikael Lees, is that going to be... Nope, that's not the run into the pit lane as well. So he's went off track and has lost, what, 4 positions just by doing that one thing.
Yeah, for sure, and it's the smallest of mistakes, as I say, that can have the most drastic of consequences. And here's Archer going around the outside of Carvalho, who is on a mission from towards the back of the grid and putting a lot of pressure onto the 46 machine. Lewis Archer closing the gap through that right hand. Oh my word, again, that was perilously close to absolute calamity, but both of them managing to keep it clean. You can see there Carvalho flashing his lights there, maybe not too happy. This is the fight for the final place on the podium between Olivier Boltonek and Adam Delmont. The 777 car just in behind, trying to go for that move in the slipstream now down this run towards T2. You can see Boltonek under a little bit of pressure going to the left-hand side, quickly opting to bring it back to the right. Delmont thinking about it, but playing to his senses and thinking, yeah, no, probably not the best ideas. Trying to stay close, and respect to him for staying this close to the reigning champion. Yeah, absolutely. Adam Delmont is new into the series this season as well. Wasn't in last year's, and I think he's going to be a great addition, judging just off the fact that he's got absolutely unbelievable raw pace at the moment. Chasing down last season's champion in Olivier Boltonek. Olivier now just kind of opened it up above the half-a-second mark. But Mikael Lees, Derek Crowther and Ivan Balkamp, they've got about 1.1 between the 3 of them. And as you can see, all 3 cars in shot there, 8:55 and currently 113 from Derek Crowther, so they are going to be going at it. Daniel Thomas has had an incident, but we will have a look back at that when we can. But at the moment, they are running 2 wide around the bottom end of the circuit, which is currently turn 4 for us, turn 11 for the full circuit. And Mikael Lees now has got Derek Crowther for company from Blade Designs. Derek in 12th place at the moment. Laura Ubasek has got Stuart Reynolds for company. It's been quite hard for Ubasek, hasn't it? Because she's had so many fast drivers, as we see Reynolds just kind of making that move. Ubasek doesn't look like she kind of wants to get involved with too much argy-bargy, and is kind of on a, you know, look, you take it, I'll try and follow, and I want to survive kind of mission. For sure, and again, Ubasek has been given this position, you know, by the reverse grid. Sometimes it does you a lot more harm than good, hanging on tooth and nail for a position, because when you've got a driver like Stuart Reynolds or people like that who want to find a way through, you can almost guarantee they are. One way or another, they're going to find a way through. They're going to fight, they're going to get through, and then as soon as that's happened, they're going to fly off into the distance and leave you for dust, and you've got no hope of getting that place back. Meanwhile, during that fight, the amount that you fight, the amount that you try to keep them behind, which again, is going to get you absolutely no reward whatsoever, because eventually they're going to find a way through, is just backing both of you up into the pack behind. So as soon as one gets through, we've seen it time and time again, as soon as one gets through, they all going to want to try and find a way through. And quickly, you soon realize that you've lost one, then you lost two, then three, then four, then five. And quickly, fighting for a position that you thought you could have held on to has actually found you in such a worse position that Ubersax has just said, you do you, I'm not going to fight this one. I'm going to try and just drive my own race and see where I end up, which for now is working for her, because P6 at the moment, not a bad result so far. Of course, Lewis Archer and Nilton Carvalho is onto the tail of her, but you have to say, if she continued to fight for every position, she might actually be outside the top 10. So doing her as best a job as possible, and by doing that is not doing anyone any favours, including herself.
Yeah, well, she's gone into the pit lane, so I suppose she'll take a drive through. Whether that was intentional or not, it looked like it's come in a little bit too hot there, tucked up right behind Stuart Reynolds, and then kind of lost where the breaking point is, and Lewis Archer manages to avoid that one. And that is Ubersek back out currently now down in 13th place. So that 6th that she was in has now materialised into 13th, and that's a 7-point gain. Just by making, I'm going to put it down to a very unorthodox entry into the pit lane, Zach.
Yeah, that's not how I do it.
No, we can't be too, you know what I mean? She's done an absolutely solid job. I didn't want to be too critical and say that there was a mistake made and she went spinning into the pit lane. Let's just say it was just an unorthodox entry.
Yeah, let's just put it down to that.
Yeah, that was cool. That's fine.
Yeah, done. Moving on. Here's Beauchamp in P9. He's got Mikael Lees for company. Bit of a gap up to Herbert in front, but about to the margin of about 1.1 seconds or so, which isn't the biggest of gaps. But again, around a circle like this is hard to close. But Lees has had a topsy-turvy race, up and down, really fighting for a number of positions, but overall has had the pace.
Yeah, absolutely. And currently as well, I want to jump back on board with Lewis Archer, because he's got Nilton Carvalho for company, and Carvalho is looking at making that move on the circuit down into turn 11. Went in too deep, went out wide, and that's allowed Archer to come back through. And now it is a simple drag race down into the left-hander, the last corner on the circuit. As you can see, they are side by side. Archer on your left. That's going to swap over now. So you've got Carvalho on the inside. Carvalho runs Archer wide. Archer needs to turn. They can't turn. That's contact between Carvalho and Archer. Archer just got run in a little bit too deep, tried to turn the car, and unfortunately for him, Carvalho was in the onside. That's allowed Beauchamp now to have another go at least, and big puff of smoke there. And these guys are running on. There was just nowhere for Archer to go. He had to turn the car, and unfortunately Carvalho was just there with him.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's that Constantina effect of things happening. That's going to get very close for comfort between Beauchamp and Lees as they run through what is the final corner on this circuit, or actually depends where the start line is, because on our timing sheets, this is T1, and there's Beauchamp, the move to the inside, trying to force the gap open. You can see Lees gives him a wide berth and uses that outside momentum to then get his rear bumper ahead of the front bumper of Beauchamp, but it's not over yet, because we've seen before how brave the Dutchman can be on the brakes. You can already see pulling to the left-hand side. Is it brave? Is it bold? Not quite, but just in front. Actually, Lees turns defense into offense. Now eyeing up the move there on the just in front, trying to get ahead of what is, I believe, Lewis Archer just in front, or a couple of back markers or things like that. Just trying to force your way through the field as best you can, because at the moment, offense for him is the best defense, or it might not be, because he's been forced off the road and going to lose a couple of places as a result. Yeah, absolutely. As all the while this has been going on, Scott McFall is in the lead. Is in the lead by 5.5 seconds, and getting further and further and further up. And that was one we did not catch, because that gap was about 9 seconds. And I wasn't expecting him to get first place this quickly. I think, you know, we've got 2 laps left, and that was just unbelievable. But by the looks of it, I don't think McFall has taken his drive-through yet. Not yet, no. No, I can't see it either. I'm sure it wasn't just me. I'm pretty sure he just literally has not. But I don't think this drive-through is very long. I think it's on the end of the straight. You're going to go, well, let's stay on board with McFall, because I think we're going to go now. There we go. We're into the pits on lap 28. There's the pit entry. Exits at the top of the circuit, so it isn't very long at all. But is Byron going to get him back? He is. Is Boltonet going to get him back? Well, this is going to be close on the exit. It looks like
Boltonic did get McFall. McFall now has got Adam Delmont for company within the last 2 laps, but currently at the moment, this is Chris Byram's to lose. 1.2 seconds ahead, and going to be starting the last lap very, very shortly there, Zach. It was kind of a given there that McFall was going to lose it. He'd taken the lead. We wasn't expecting it. Did look up, but he hasn't taken his drive through. So it looks like really Byram has got it all to lose on his own, and hopefully he won't with the last lap coming up.
Honestly, Byram, you could argue, yes, he got given the front row start because of the reverse grid or whatever, but that's only part of the story. You have to maintain the pace, because if he was a slouch, a pushover, he would have fallen victim to Boltonic and McFall already, but he hasn't. He's maintained competitive pace throughout this entire race and is a well-deserved winner of what is going to be round 2 of this new season of racing for the UTC here at COTA. And hats off to him. He's held off the pressure and has done so well against the likes of Boltonic and McFall, and is going to continue to do so. And hopefully it is the start of what is going to be a brilliant season for all 3 of them.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out as well, last season I was cheering for Chris Byram. I know as commentators we're supposed to be diplomatic, but Chris was that nearly man last season. Didn't see him get a victory by what I can remember all season. So to come out in the opening round on the reverse grid, on the front row, to get the victory, I can only say, job done, Chris Byram. Well done to you, sir. You've taken a victory in round 2 of the UTC. Now get in the commentary booth. I want to have a chat with you. Just a congratulations on how well you are doing. Oh, Neil Cavallio and Ivan Balkamp. Was that? That was no. It was Kokoro Giannis.
It was.
Oh, that's not something you see right near the end of the race.
Well, it is, because that's when the stakes are highest. That's when the moves count most, and that's when people go for silly moves like that end in disaster.
Absolutely. There we go. Short, sharp, and sweet from Zach Sweeney there, and make sure you're all listening as well. So that was unbelievable there from Neil Carvalho, and that stuff is Kokoro Giannis in 13th. Roberts is going to be coming across the line as well. There is Sean Roberts, and then Luke Mitchell with Scott Malcolm behind him going to be the last of the runners. And I can only say that that was just unbelievable, and job done for Chris Byram. I think that is absolutely incredible from him taking that victory. We are just going to be waiting now. There are the feature results. There you go, Zach. Can you see them okay? So give them a good run through.
Can do indeed. It was Chris Byram that took victory here then for round number 2 here at the Circuit of the Americas for the second round of the United Touring Championship. What a race it was for him in dominant fashion. 1.6 seconds clear of the Belgian reigning champion of Olivier Boltonic, who got redemption for a mediocre showing in race 1, it must be said. Adam Delman rounds off the podium with Scott McFall and Stuart Reynolds, your top 5. Dominic Herbert just in behind in P6 with Mikkel Lees P7. Then comes Lewis Archer, Derek Crowther and Ivan Balkamp rounding off your top 10. Just in behind there, Nilton Carvalho P11. Dan Mold P12 after, again, what could have been for the Englishman. The Blade Designs number 80. Definitely more on the table and more to prove as the season progresses. Status, Kokoriganis P13 after a late spin in the race on the final lap. Laura Ubisax in P14. Sean Roberts rounds off your top 15. Luke Mitchell P16. Scott Malcolm just in behind in P17 with Chris Radmore there, P18. Danny Bleak and Neil Ferrier round off your top 20 with the final few, I believe, who didn't actually quite make it to the checkered flag. Stuart Gibbons, Elliot Hankin, Rob Slutier, Dan Carpenter and Nicole Pastore there, P26, and the final of the bunch. I have to say, James, what a race it was. You know, jumped in to agree to this, to do this commentary literally 10 minutes before we started. I'd only just finished a broadcast beforehand, but I have to say, I wasn't disappointed by a series that coming into this one, I had really no familiarity of at all. No,
absolutely unbelievable. And I get great pleasure in bringing in the man that took the victory in race 2, Chris Byram. You are a superstar. Congratulations, buddy.
I did it for you, mate. The pressure was on.
Oh.
In the off season, you put so much pressure on saying, "Oh, you're going to win. I want you to win. You're the man to win." I couldn't sleep. And I thought, I've got to do it. So there you go, mate. I did it for you.
Oh, mate, I was so happy as well because, nearly so close last season, so many times. And you needed it. And do you know what? I don't care if you were gifted the front row from being at the back, being in your incidents in race. I didn't care. The fact that you went out, the fact that you kept your head, the fact that you went and won, that's it. I don't need to do anymore. So see you all later. I'm finished. You made it, Chris. You made my season already.
No, that's good to hear. I did exactly the same as Lewis last season. He crashed out the first race at Brands and then took the second race win. Obviously, it's a little bit easier starting front row, and then, I mean, with this type of track as well, did it all kick off behind, or was it?
Yeah, there was no, there was definitely not relatively clean. We had a few contacts. There was about 5 cars involved in one accident. I'm just trying to find the list of where they were, but there was about 5 of them involved. Staffis, Ivan, Scott, Sean, Nicola Pastori, as well. They were all involved at the beginning, and it kind of ended up almost like a parking lot down into the hairpin. So yeah, it was a little bit chaotic, but. Look,
a bit of breathing space for me.
Yes.
I mean, at one point, I think I was like 7 laps in, and all of a sudden I saw Scott in 4th. I was like, oh, Jesus. Here we go. So I decided to go a little bit earlier than I went a little bit later than I planned to. And then, luckily for me, Scott didn't follow me in. Otherwise, if he had, he probably would have overtaken me because his pace was really, really good because he was just pulling away. And then Olivia then started coming, and I was thinking, oh no, P3 though. I was ready to settle for a P3, but when I saw Scott didn't pit, I thought he's going to come out and I'm going to be slightly ahead. Hopefully he doesn't pull too much, but I think he's about 7 seconds or something, so that was more than enough for me to have a bit of breathing space. But then Olivia was there, and I was like, oh no. Start driving a bit more tense, yeah.
I need to relax. James is in the booth. Wish edging me on, and I need to chill out. Oh, but look, dude, that was just absolutely unbelievable. You know what I mean? It's just, I think that's just going to open up to an absolute epic start to a new season. And, well, mate, I don't know what to say apart from, dude, you've done it. If you don't win another race all year, I don't care. You've done it in round 1, and that has made me exceedingly happy.
Completed it, mate. I think that's it now. I'm not going to do the rest of the season. That's it. I've got my win. That's it. I'm gone.
Yeah, go out with champion, mate. Nick, go out, Rosberg style. I won. Sorry, I've retired. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, I'd like to get more. I want to do better this season. I feel like I missed out a little bit last season with a couple of incidents and then some silly mistakes from me and then Alton Park. You know what I mean? I think I could have been higher up, maybe not for the championship, but maybe top 4, maybe 3, we'll see. But
well, mate, that is an absolute barnstorming start to the season. So, Chris Byram, congratulations. And we next look forward to seeing you for round 3 and 4.
Cheers, James. Appreciate it.
Take care, mate.
Thank you for everything. And well done for all the good work, mate.
No, mate, it's always a pleasure.
Take it.
Right. Yes, I know I was not supposed to be biased, Zach, but I couldn't help it. If you've seen the trials and tribulations that Chris Byron went through last season, you would be biased as well. And I don't care if he got the reverse grid. I don't care if he was at the back for race 1. He got the victory. That's it.
That's what matters. Full stop there. I mean, we are meant to be impartial as commentators. We are meant to sort of hide. Naturally, we are going to have our own little fans, a fan who we fan of. But yeah, at the end of the day, the passion is always going to be real. And when you see it all, come undone, it's not that you hate everyone else and you wouldn't be happy for them if they won as well. It's just what it meant to Chris to come across the line there and win his first race. But yeah, congrats to him. Really happy to see and what it meant to him. But I think it meant more to you than it did him.
Yes. Do you know what? It probably did. But I think it's just hard because he had worked so tough. He worked so hard last season and just was almost there. And, let's have a look. I'm going to show you the overall. These are provisional standings, okay? So these will be provisional going in. We will have to wait for the added bonuses of the safest driver and that as well. But currently, Olivier Boltonek is out in front on 34 points. Scott McFall is on 34 as well. Chris Byram My man, currently in third on 25. Neil Cavallio in fourth on 27. Stuart is 22nd. Stuart Reynolds in fifth. Adam Dalmont in sixth on 18. Dan Mould 17. Lewis Archer 17. Ivan Balkamp 16. Neil Ferrier in 14th, tied there with Kokoro Giannis in 11th place. Dominic Herbert is on 13 points. Mikael Lees on 12. Danny Bleak on 11. Derek Crowther on 8th. Scott Malcolm on 6. Rob Sluter is on 5 with Sean Roberts. Further down the order there, we've got Nicolo Pastore on 4. Laura Ubasek has got 3 points. Luke Mitchell has got 1. And then Dan Carpenter, Elliot Hankins, Stuart Gibbons, Chris Ranmore and Daniel Thomas are yet to score. So there we go. Wow. Zach, if you can sum that up in a short period of time that we've got, what would you say?
Oh, wow. Put the pressure on here.
One sentence. Go for it. One sentence.
I'll give you 3 words. Dramatic, chaotic, and exciting.
Well, what more do you need in that alone from Zach Sweeney? And all that's left for me to say now is, after some absolutely incredible racing there is from myself and Zach, you take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.